Well, welcome back, everyone. CPAs and taxes, and it's Friday. It's a great day to talk about things like this. But the main thing is right now, a lot of people in business that own businesses, they got extensions, right? And you were mentioning at the break how important it is for people to keep their books together, and so that they make sure that they give you all of the right information, all of the information that you need. Because if you're missing something, how do you know?
I know, yeah. And you know, I'm going to quote one of Carol's phrases, you don't know what you don't know. And it's so true. You know, there's stuff that I learn in classes, because I take lots of classes every year, more than the required amount, because I feel like I need it. And there's so many things that I find out and like, oh, well, I'm glad I took this class, because I didn't know that. That's some kind of new law that they slipped in under the wire, you know, and all these weird things happen. And there's so much minutia and detail that we have to know. And I can't imagine how anybody can do their own taxes unless they're really simple. But my wheelhouse is the more complicated taxes, businesses, higher income people. That's really what I excel at and do best at. And so if you're in that boat, you really deserve it to get somebody who's a professional to work on your taxes.
Her phone number is 480-964-4030. That's 480-964-4030. Call her. She does free consultations, and she's rated with the Better Business Bureau. She does second opinions for people. She's all about excellence and integrity in accounting. One of the things that we want to talk about, that, you know, there's a lot of people that have businesses that live in a couple of different states. You know, you might even have foreign bank accounts, and we wanted to talk about that today too, filing your foreign bank accounts.
Yes, that's very important. If you have more than $10,000 in any bank account in a foreign country, and by the way, Canada is a foreign country. Sometimes they're so much like us, we forget that.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's so many rules about foreign bank accounts and foreign income tax, etc. It behooves you to go to a professional like myself, because even if you're even over that, if you're at $50,000, there's even more reporting requirements. And the horrible thing is the penalties are when, to quote one person, draconian.
Oh,
I
wow.
thought that was somebody.
Good name.
Somebody
really
said
good
that.
Word.
I was like, I thought
that's a 5-star word.
That was a 5-star word, and I thought that was because, you know, sometimes the penalty can be $5,000 or half the value of your bank account, whichever's greater. I mean, it's
so
severe.
Here's the thing: a lot of people go out of the country, and they might have family there. Mm-hmm. They might have been staying there a little bit longer than normal, right? Maybe they're taking care of a loved one or what have you, and they open up a bank account.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Or, you know, I've had several clients operating in different countries. I've had a client that had a business in China. I had a client that had a business in Canada. I got a client that's got a business in Mexico. And then I have other clients that, you know, originally lived in Canada, so they had bank accounts, retirement accounts, and all that. And so we have to do the foreign bank account. Yeah, I had somebody from Denmark too. I've had people from all over the world, and we've always had to make sure that we report those things, because, you know, if you some people, hey, there's a good deal on a piece of property, let me buy that piece of property. Well, I need money over there to pay the mortgage, and so they put money in a bank account. And, you know, a lot of times people forget about that stuff. And I had one client, you know, I'd asked him for years and years and years, and he kept saying, no, 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 no. And then finally one year he goes, oh, you know, I forgot. I've got a retirement account in Australia. So, you know, we caught him up and did the reports for him. And it was, you know, because we caught it up before they caught him, no harm, no foul. Because it's just a reporting. There's no taxes. It's just to say, here, this is what I have. And it's a device for them to make sure that there isn't, you know, people hiding money overseas and hiding income by not reporting it. And also for Homeland Security purposes, they're making sure that there's, not people doing transfers out of the country to somebody who may be evil.
No, listen, that is why we have them.
Bad stuff in the world, and we always have to be on guard for it. But, if you're honest, then you shouldn't fear reporting it, because there's really no tax consequences other than ones you would legally have to have anyway. Like if you're earning interest, you may have to report that foreign interest, but then, if it's taxable in the other country, then you get the foreign tax credit. So sometimes it's even to your benefit to be honest.
Right.
So,
and we talked a little bit about that too, about rental properties. When somebody was said to you that they
I didn't make money. Yeah.
Right. They didn't make any money. But that actually, I asked you if that is a good thing. But let's talk a bit about a lot of people have rental properties here.
Yeah. Well, if your income is under a threshold, I think it's $150,000. It changes a little bit, but you can take up to $25,000 of loss per year. Now, if you're over that, you still have that loss, and it just accumulates until you're either your income drops or you decide to sell the property. And when you sell the property, that's a beautiful time to take all those losses, because then you're not paying as much tax. Then you have a little bit of an offset tax-wise.
What about people that have, they're doing their properties as Airbnbs?
Well, that's taxable too. Now, Airbnb will provide the information for tax reporting, and that's something you need to provide to your tax preparer.
But now that's also complicated.
Oh yeah, that's another complicated thing, and depending on if it's strictly, if it's a property you bought that you strictly use for Airbnb, which there are some out there, or if it's a residence that you might use, either not your personal residence so much, but it could be part of your personal residence, or a vacation residence that you have, then there's different rules. Well, if you use it more than 15 days a year, then there's special rules for that, and that's where the complications come in and why you shouldn't do it yourself.
There's a lot of reasons why, especially when it comes to taxes. It's not, if you have a real simple tax return, okay, but it gets very complicated very easily.
Very easily, yeah. A lot of people with the rental properties, small businesses, and then there's even people who join those MLMs, and some people actually do make good money from it. But if you're not working it, then you might be subject to hobby loss rules, which we've talked about before. If something is deemed to be a hobby, you can take your expenses up to the amount of income. You can basically zero it out, but you can't take losses on that. So, one of those things, you need to make sure, if you're doing that kind of business, that you are running it as a legitimate business, that you have a separate bank account, that you're advertising, and you're doing the legwork that makes it look like a real business.
Right. A lot of people, listen, they're working out of their homes today. You got to make sure that's also done correctly. There's a lot of reasons, and having a side gig, a lot of people have them because they need them.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe they started off with something just light, and then all of a sudden they start getting into it, and the next thing you know, you got a full-blown business, but it has to be run correctly.
Like a business, and where you're not commingling your personal income with that.
Right, and so many people do that.
Yeah, and so I always recommend, if you have a business, keep it separate from your personal.
Well, we also said this earlier. It's all about making sure that your books and everything is done correctly, and that is where you come in.
Yes, I am a QuickBooks Pro advisor, and I love to teach. In a past life, I was a teacher, and well, in my career, I was in the teaching profession, and I love to teach my clients.
Absolutely. I mean, and she's all about numbers. She has a great sharp pencil, and she is all about helping you understand your numbers, because when you do, now you are going to grow your business, and you've done that many, many times with many people.
Yeah. I watched one client, and I have to give him some credit because he did a good job with his business, but we straightened out their QuickBooks because it was a bit of a mess.
What are your final words?
And, DIY might be good if you're trying to make a table, but if you're trying to do your taxes, don't do it DIY.
Give her a call. Her phone number direct, it's 480-964-4030. That's 480-964-4030. It's ArizonaCPAs with an S.com.